The human listening post drifted in silence at the edge of known space. It was far from the busy trade routes, far from colonies, and far from home. The crew often joked that nothing ever happened here, and that was the problem. But on this night, everything changed. The station's communication officer, Lieutenant Harris, leaned over his console. At first, he thought it was just static, a burst of random noise, but then he froze. His hands stopped moving. His breath caught. The noise was not random. It had rhythm. It had pattern. It had a voice, Captain, he whispered, his voice shaking. You need to hear this. The captain, a calm and serious man named Reynolds, walked over. The voice crackled again through the speakers. Weak and broken, it was high-pitched, trembling, but clearly a female voice, and it was not human. Please, help me. The voice begged, every word heavy with fear. Static cut the signal again, but the message repeated. The crew leaned closer, their eyes wide. A living being was crying for help out there. In the endless void, for a long moment, no one spoke. The hum of the station filled the silence. Then the science officer, Patel, whispered, "That's not one of ours. That's alien." The word sent a shiver down every spine. Humanity had met other species before, but they were distant, cautious, and rare. None had ever spoken to humans in such a personal way. This was different, this was raw, this was desperate. It felt like someone reaching across the stars. Grabbing their hearts, the captain asked, "Location?" Harris typed fast, sweat on his forehead. "The signal is weak. Very old tech, strange coding, but I think I can get a trace." He worked in silence, the voice repeating again and again. "Help me. They are coming." "Who is coming?" Reynolds muttered, but the voice gave no answer. It was as if she could not hear them, only send her desperate call into the dark. The crew exchanged nervous looks. They were trained for emergencies, pirates, breakdowns, even alien diplomacy, but not this. Not a cry for help from an unknown woman lost in the void. Patel leaned closer to his screen. "The signal is bouncing through debris fields, broken satellites, old junk. That's why it sounds so broken." "But it's real?" the captain asked. "Yes, sir, very real." The crew could not look away from the speaker as the voice cracked and cried again. Her words carried fear, but also a strange courage. She was fighting to stay alive, fighting to be heard, and now they had heard her. Reynolds turned slowly to his people. "You all understand what this means," he said, voice low. "If we respond, we risk everything. We go into unknown space, into unknown danger if we ignore it." He let the words hang in the air. They all imagined the same thing, a woman alone, trapped, begging for someone, anyone, to come. The youngest crew member, Ensign Carter, whispered, "What if it was one of us, sir? Would we want to be left to die?" No one answered, but the thought burned inside them all. Harris suddenly gasped, "I found coordinates." "It's faint, but it's there." He brought the map onto the main screen. The signal came from a system with no name. Only numbers. It was marked as dead space, abandoned long ago. No colonies, no stations, no trade, no reason for anyone to be there. The captain studied the map, his jaw tight. The alien woman's voice filled the room again. "Please, I cannot escape. They are hunting me." The word "they" echoed in everyone's mind. Who were they? Pirates, slavers, monsters, something worse? Patel whispered, "Sir, if she's telling the truth, then she's not only asking for help. She's warning us." Reynolds looked around the room. His crew was scared, but also alive in a way they hadn't been for months. Something had awakened inside them. A call across the stars, and a choice no one expected to face. The captain finally spoke. "Record everything, strengthen the trace, and prepare the ship." Carter's eyes went wide. "Sir, you mean we're going after her?" Reynolds nodded, slow and heavy. "She called for help, and humanity answers." Outside the listening post, the stars burned cold and distant, but in the heart of the humans who had heard that trembling alien voice, a fire had been lit. They didn't know who she was or what hunted her, but they knew one thing for certain. The signal in the void had reached them, and there was no turning back. The coordinates were locked, but the signal kept breaking and twisting through static. Every few minutes, the alien woman's voice returned, thin, shaking, almost lost. Her words were never long, never complete, but always filled with terror. The crew gathered in the control room, listening to each broken fragment like it was a warning carved in stone. "Please, help. They are near," the voice said. Then came a burst of noise, a high shriek of static like claws scraping metal. Harris flinched, turning down the volume, but no one left the room. Even silence was better than not knowing. Reynolds stood with arms crossed, his eyes fixed on the flickering screen. He tried to look calm, but inside a storm of questions grew. Who was she? How long had she been calling? And most of all, and who were they? The word carried weight, as if she did not dare name them. Patel worked quickly, adjusting filters and amplifiers. At last, more words slipped through the noise. They. Hunting me, claws. Eyes in the dark. The crew shivered. The image built itself in their minds without needing full detail. It was worse that she did not explain. Worse that they had to imagine it. Carter spoke softly, as if afraid the monsters could hear through the signal. She's describing something alive, something chasing her. Patel nodded. Predators, not machines. This is not random fear. This is survival instinct. The voice came again, louder for a moment. No escape. Trapped. They hear everything. Her tone broke on the last word, like she was crying, like she was whispering into the dark. Then the signal collapsed again into cold static. For a moment, the crew sat frozen. The room filled only with the faint hum of machines. Harris whispered, "If they can hear everything, then maybe they know we are listening too." The thought made everyone turn toward him. Their faces pale. Patel tried to steady them. The hunters may not know yet. It depends on the range of her broadcast. But the seed of fear had been planted. Reynolds turned sharply, his voice firm. "We cannot sit here guessing. She is alone. She is terrified. And time may be short." He pointed at the display. "Set course for the signal source, maximum safe speed." The crew obeyed, but their hands trembled at the consoles. As the ship disengaged from the listening post and entered the black sea of space, the voice returned. "Please, if anyone hears me, I cannot fight them. I only run." The crew stared at one another. The words cut deep. She sounded fragile, yet there was a strength in her desperation. She had not given up, not yet. Carter clenched his fists. She has been running all this time alone, while her enemies hunt her like an animal. Reynolds gave a slow nod. And now she's asking humanity to do what no one else has. Hours passed, but no one could rest. The signal grew clearer as they approached the nameless system. Each message painted a darker picture. "She is hurt," Patel muttered. "Listen to her breathing between words. It is shallow, weak." The idea that she was dying out there made the silence heavier. Suddenly the transmission shifted, louder, urgent. "They... Closer. I can see their shadows. They smell me." The words made Carter cover his mouth, horrified. What kind of monsters hunted by smell across the void? Patel whispered, "This is not technology alone. This is biology mixed with nightmare." Harris quickly pulled up the star charts. "Her position is right here, this dead system. Abandoned after failed colonies, no light, no signals. Nothing but ruins." The captain studied the map. "A perfect hunting ground." The phrase sent shivers through the crew. The alien woman's voice cracked through once more, weaker than ever. "If anyone hears, do not let them take me. Please." Then silence. A silence so deep it felt like the stars themselves were holding their breath. For a long moment the humans sat frozen. Every man and woman on board thought of the same truth. They were her only chance. There was no one else out here. No rescue fleet, no alien army, only them. And still, a question hung in the air like a shadow. If they reached her, what else would they find waiting in the dark? Reynolds finally broke the silence, his voice low but steady. "We cannot turn back now. We've heard her call. And humanity does not ignore those who beg for help." His eyes swept over his crew. "But make no mistake. Whatever hunts her may soon hunt us." The ship pressed on, stars fading as they entered the dark system. The voice no longer came through. Only echoes, fragments, and the memory of her fear. But the words stayed inside them all. Eyes in the dark, claws on metal, shadows that hunt. And each crew member asked themselves the same silent question. When the hunters arrived, would they still be brave enough to answer her cry? The human ship cut through the endless dark, leaving the safety of patrol routes behind. Every second pulled them deeper into the nameless system, a place marked on charts only as dead space. No trade ships came here, no colonies survived here. Only silence and shadows, and yet somewhere ahead, a voice had cried for help. The crew sat tense at their stations, their eyes locked on flickering screens. Harris adjusted the receivers again and again. But the alien woman's voice grew fainter. At times only broken whispers reached them, like breath carried on the edge of a storm. Closer. "They coming." The fragments repeated. Reynolds stood behind them, arms folded, gaze fixed on the forward display. He was a man used to danger, but this was different. No enemy had shown itself, no face, no name. Only fear traveling across the stars, and fear, he knew, was the most dangerous weapon of all. Carter broke the silence. His voice small but steady. "Sir, why would anyone even come here? Why was her ship in this system?" Patel answered softly. Maybe she was running, maybe hiding, maybe trapped, but even Patel, who loved logic, found no comfort in his own guesses. The ship's scanners swept the system ahead. One broken planet after another appeared on their screens. Dead worlds stripped of life. Covered in dust and ruins, they looked like graveyards, silent reminders of something that once lived here and no longer dared to stay. "This place feels wrong," Carter whispered, his fingers drumming nervously on the console. "It feels empty, but not empty enough," Harris added. His eyes scanning the radar for shadows, the crew said little after that, as if their words could draw unwanted attention. Hours passed, the stars outside grew faint, hidden behind thick clouds of cosmic dust. It was like sailing into a fog that swallowed light and sound. The deeper they went, the more the crew felt the weight of unseen eyes watching them. The alien woman's warnings echoed in their minds. Claws, eyes in the dark, hunters that never stopped. Suddenly Patel's console beeped. Sharp and loud, "Energy spike," he reported. His voice tight. Not natural, not random. Something ahead. The bridge filled with tension as Reynolds ordered the ship to slow. On the screen, a faint glow appeared. Wreckage scattered across empty space. The humans leaned forward, hearts pounding. The wreckage was not human. The design was alien, curved and sharp, scarred with deep claw-like marks. It spun slowly in the void, pieces drifting like bones. Patel whispered. She wasn't lying. Something tore this apart. Carter swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Do you think she's still alive in there, sir?" Reynolds shook his head. "Not in this wreck. But maybe close." He turned toward Harris. "Trace the signal again. Find her exact location." Harris worked quickly, his hands flying over the console. At last, coordinates blinked on the map, a barren planet deeper inside the system. The alien woman's last signals had come from its orbit. Reynolds gave the order. Set course, approach carefully. Full scans active. The ship glided forward, engines whispering against the silence of space. Every light on the bridge seemed too bright. Every sound too loud. The crew spoke less and less, their thoughts locked on the unknown waiting ahead. As they approached the planet, its surface came into view. It was gray and broken, with canyons stretching like open wounds. Dust storms circled endlessly, covering old ruins. From orbit it looked lifeless, yet the scanners whispered another story, sir. Patel said, his eyes wide. "I detect faint energy readings, a crashed vessel. Half buried in dust?" Reynolds leaned closer to the screen. The image sharpened. A ship torn apart, its hull scarred with long claw marks. It looked like something had tried to break in. "Not just destroy, that's her," Harris breathed, his voice almost trembling. "Life signs?" Reynolds asked sharply. Patel hesitated, checking again and again. "One. Only one, very weak." The crew stared at the screen, hearts racing. She was alive, but barely. Reynolds gave the order. "Prepare a landing team, ready medics. Arm security." The crew moved fast, tension mixed with determination. They were about to walk into the unknown, into a place that had swallowed colonies and ships. But none of them hesitated now. The call for help had burned too deeply into their hearts. As the ship descended toward the broken planet, dust storms swirled around them. The atmosphere shook with strange echoes. Low sounds that rattled the hull. Carter whispered, "What if that's not the wind?" But no one answered. The closer they came to the wreck, the more the scanners flickered, interference rising like a warning. Finally, the ship touched down on the barren surface. The crew looked out through the thick glass. The alien vessel lay half buried, twisted and broken. Its metal skin was marked by deep cuts, as if something with claws had tried to drag its prey out inside that broken ship. A single life sign flickered weakly. She was there, waiting, trapped and terrified. And as the humans prepared to step out onto the dead world, each of them felt the same cold thought crawl through their minds. If she had been hunted all this way, then surely the hunters were not far behind. The human landing team stepped out into the storm, their boots sinking into gray dust. The air was thin and bitter. The wind carried fine particles that scratched against their suits. Through the swirling haze, the alien ship loomed like a broken skeleton, half buried in the planet's skin. Its hull was torn open in jagged lines. As if something had clawed its way inside, Reynolds led the group forward, his visor glowing faintly with the heads-up display. "Stay sharp," he ordered, his voice steady but low. "We don't know what's waiting in there." Carter walked close behind him. Clutching his rifle too tightly, he tried to breathe slow, but his heart pounded like a drum inside his chest. The closer they came, the clearer the damage appeared. The metal looked melted in some places, shredded in others. It was not the clean strike of weapons, but the wild violence of something alive, Harris whispered over comms. Whatever did this wasn't trying to destroy the ship. It was trying to get at whoever was inside. Patel scanned the wreck with a handheld device. One life sign faint just ahead inside the broken hull. The word sent a wave of energy through the team. She was alive, but for how long, none of them knew. The humans reached the torn opening and peered inside. Darkness stretched before them, shadows twisting with the storm's light. Reynolds lifted his arm lamp, the beam cutting through the gloom. Wires dangled like veins. Panels hung loose. The air smelled of burnt metal and something else. Something sour. Like decay, they moved carefully into the wreck, the sound of their boots echoing through the hollow corridors. The ship groaned as if remembering pain, each gust of wind pushing through the broken walls. Carter's lamp caught long scratches running down the passage, deep gouges that cut through steel. He shivered. "Claws again, sir." "Always claws," the team pressed forward. Guided by Patel's scanner, the signal grew clearer, weak heartbeat, faint breaths, a fragile thread of life clinging on. Reynolds held up a hand, signaling them to slow. They turned a corner and entered a chamber half collapsed from impact. There, huddled against a wall of twisted metal, lay the alien woman. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes large and shining even in the dark. She was thin, trembling, and wrapped in scraps of what had once been a uniform. She looked more like a hunted animal than a soldier, her hands shaking as she clutched a broken transmitter. Her head lifted weakly as the human lights fell on her. Her lips parted, and a voice, in the same voice that had haunted their radios, whispered, "You came—" Carter froze, his throat tight. She looked so fragile, so close to death, and yet in her eyes there was something burning. Not hope, not yet, but the raw will to survive. Reynolds knelt slowly, removing his helmet so she could see his face. "Yes, we heard you," he said firmly. "You're safe now." But the alien woman shook her head violently, fear flashing in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "Not safe. Never safe. They follow. Always follow." Her words broke into coughs, her body trembling as if every breath was a battle. Patel moved quickly, pulling out medpacks and scanners, trying to stabilize her. Carter crouched beside her, his voice soft. "Who are they? Who's hunting you?" The woman's hands tightened around the broken transmitter, her silver fingers trembling. Her lips moved, but only fragments came out. "Eyes. In the dark. Claws. They smell me. They will smell you too." Her words sent a chill through the humans. The ship around them groaned again as if echoing her warning. Outside, the storm howled louder, carrying with it strange low sounds. They were not sure if it was the wind or something else moving in the dust. Reynolds stood, his face hard. "We need to get her out of here now," he ordered. "Patel, stabilize her for transport. Carter, Harris, cover the exits." The crew moved fast, setting up a stretcher and preparing to carry her back to their ship. But the woman's weak voice stopped them. "You do not understand. If I leave this place, they will come." Her words hung in the cold air. The humans looked at each other. Unease crawling down their spines, they wanted to tell her she was safe, that humanity would protect her. But the fear in her voice, the terror in her eyes made them hesitate. Patel injected her with stabilizers. Her breathing eased a little. Reynolds bent close, his voice quiet but firm. "Whoever they are, whatever they are, we will fight them if we must. Humanity does not run." The alien woman stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her lips moved in a whisper. "You fight, even when you cannot win." The storm outside slammed against the hull, the walls rattled, the ground shook. Patel frowned. "Sir?" Scanners picking up movement, large, multiple, closing fast. Carter's hands tightened around his weapon. His pulse racing, Reynolds looked at the woman, still trembling on the stretcher, and then at his crew. Then we don't have time, he said, his voice hard as steel. Get her aboard. Prepare for company. The humans moved quickly, lifting the alien woman and retreating through the wreck. Every step echoed like a drumbeat, each gust of wind sounding more like footsteps in the dark. And deep inside each human's mind grew the same question. If the hunters had found her before, how long until they found them too? The storm roared outside as the humans carried the alien woman back to their ship. Her body was light, almost weightless, as if fear and hunger had hollowed her. Every step was tense. Every sound in the dust made them glance over their shoulders. But they reached the landing craft and sealed the hatch before the shadows could reach them. Inside, the air was warmer, cleaner, yet the sense of danger did not fade. The woman lay on the stretcher, her eyes half open, her breathing shallow but steady under Patel's care. The humans gathered around, their faces filled with questions they did not dare speak loudly. Only Reynolds stood calm, his gaze sharp, waiting for the truth to come. After a moment, the alien woman turned her head and whispered, "You should not have come here." Her voice was stronger now, though still trembling with exhaustion. "You do not know what follows me, what hunts me." Reynolds leaned closer, his voice low. "Then tell us, who are they? And why are they chasing you?" The woman closed her eyes, as if dragging her memories into words took strength. "They are hunters," she said slowly, "but not like any you have faced. They do not kill for need, they kill for pleasure." The crew shifted uneasily. Carter swallowed hard, his fists tight on his knees. "They captured me," she whispered. "They take many. Ships vanish in the void, colonies go silent, people are never seen again. Those are their trophies." Her voice cracked. Her hands clutched the blanket like a shield. "They wanted to break me, but I escaped. I ran, I kept running, but they always follow. They always smell me out." Patel frowned, whispering to himself. "So that is why the colonies in this sector failed. They weren't accidents. They were hunts." The woman nodded weakly, her eyes shining with pain. "My people. Long ago we abandoned these systems. We left them as forbidden, cursed. No one dared return. But the hunters remained," Harris asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Why you? Why are they so focused on you?" The woman's lips trembled. She looked away, her voice barely audible. "Because I defied them. Because I escaped. No one escapes them, no one resists them. I am proof they can fail. And for that, they will never stop chasing me." The room grew cold with her words. The crew imagined what it meant, a predator that hunted across stars for revenge. Reynolds, however, kept his face unreadable. "You said they kill for pleasure. What else do they do?" The alien woman's eyes filled with shadows. "They play with fear," she whispered. "They whisper in the dark. They scratch at the walls. They let you hope for escape and then they take it away." Her body shivered violently, as if even remembering their cruelty burned her from within. "They are not soldiers. They are not builders, they are not thinkers. They exist only to hunt, and we are their sport." Silence fell heavy in the chamber. The humans felt the weight of her words pressing into them. Carter's voice finally broke through, young and defiant. "But you are alive, you escaped. And now you are here with us, you're not alone anymore." The alien woman turned her gaze to him, her eyes wide and searching. For the first time, a flicker of something else appeared in her face. Not hope, not yet, but disbelief mixed with wonder. "Humans," she whispered, "you fight for strangers?" Reynolds answered firmly. "When someone cries for help, we answer, it is who we are." Her lips parted, but no words came for a long moment. At last, she whispered, "My people would never come for me. They would hide, they would forget, they would pretend I never existed." Her voice trembled again. "But you came. You risked yourselves for me." Reynolds stood tall, his voice like stone. "Then remember this. Humanity does not abandon the lost. And humanity does not bow to hunters." The alien woman stared at him, her breathing heavy. "You do not understand," she said, shaking her head. "They will come for you now. Because you touched me, because you carried me. They will never stop until you are hunted too." Outside the hull, the storm beat harder, and the ship rattled as if warning them. Patel's scanner suddenly flickered with faint signals. Movement at the edge of range, he looked up, his face pale. "Captain, I think she is right. Something is approaching. Multiple contacts." The woman sat up with sudden strength, her voice sharp with terror. "They have found me again." "No, they have found you too. The crew froze, their eyes darting to the captain. Every word of her story had become real, and now the hunters were no longer whispers in the dark. They were here, closing in, drawn by the scent of survival and the fire of defiance. Reynolds did not flinch, his voice steady as steel. "Then let them come," he said. "Humanity doesn't run from shadows." The alien woman stared at him in silence, her fear fighting against something new, a spark she had never felt before. For the first time in her hunted life, she wondered if perhaps she was not running alone anymore. The alarms began to scream through the human ship, red lights flashing across the walls. Patel's scanner filled with signals that multiplied too quickly. One blip became 3, then 5, then 10, each moving fast through the dark around the planet. The hunters had found them. Reynolds gripped the command chair, his voice sharp. "All hands to battle stations. Lock the hatches, bring weapons online." The crew scattered to their posts, fear in their eyes but fire in their movements. Carter's hand shook as he checked his rifle, whispering to himself to stay steady. Through the forward screen, shadows moved in the dust storms outside. Not shapes of ships, but things that looked alive, crawling and gliding through space as if the void itself carried them. Their outlines twisted like claws and teeth. Their hulls seemed to breathe, Carter whispered. "That's not a ship. That's a nightmare." The alien woman sat upright on the stretcher, her silver eyes wide with terror. "They are here. I told you. They will not stop." Her voice cracked into a sob, her hands clutching at the blanket. "They come to tear you apart, to take you like they tried to take me." Harris turned in his seat, panic flashing across his face. "Captain, their speed is incredible. They'll surround us in minutes," Patel added, his voice grim. "Their signatures are organic mixed with tech. I've never seen anything like it. They don't just fly. They hunt." Reynolds stayed calm, though inside his chest his heart pounded like a drum. He knew fear could shatter his crew faster than any enemy. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "We've fought pirates, raiders, and worse. This is no different. They bleed, they break, and we will make them run." The words lit sparks in his crew, shaky but real. The first hunter ship broke through the storm. Its body twisted like bone and iron melted together. Eyes glowed along its surface. Not lights, but something alive staring at them. The ship let out a sound. Not mechanical, but a low howl that shook the hull. The crew flinched. The alien woman screamed. "They are calling the pack," she cried. "They always call more." Reynolds barked the order. "Weapons hot. Target the lead ship. Fire on my mark." The cannons roared, bursts of light tearing through the storm and striking the nightmare vessel. The hunter ship twisted, part of its body cracking apart, black liquid spilling into the void. But it did not die. It screamed louder, calling the others closer. More shadows broke through the storm, circling. They moved like predators, not charging at once, but testing, snapping, waiting to strike. Harris shouted, "They're surrounding us, trying to drive us into a trap." Reynolds snapped back. "Then we break the trap, Patel. Feed me weak points, Carter. Be ready to repel boarders." The alien woman shook her head, her voice shaking. "You don't understand. You can't fight them. No one fights them." But Carter looked at her, fire in his young eyes. "Then watch us, because humans don't roll over and die." The hunters struck, two vessels darting forward with speed that defied logic. Their claws scraped the human ship's shields, sparks flying, metal groaning. The humans fired back, cannons and missiles tearing chunks from the monsters. One broke apart in a blaze of black fire, its pieces writhing as if alive even while dying. The crew cheered, hope rising for the first time. The alien woman stared, her mouth open in disbelief. "You destroyed one. No one has ever—" Her voice trailed off, as if the very idea was beyond her people's imagination. But the fight was not over, the hunters screamed, their howls echoing across every channel. More shadows poured from the dark, answering the call. Patel's scanner lit up with red. Too many contacts to count. "They're swarming us, Captain. We can't kill them all." Reynolds' eyes narrowed, his voice hard as stone. "Then we kill enough to show them what humanity is." He ordered the ship into evasive maneuvers. Diving through the dust storms, every blast of the cannons lit up the darkness, each strike pushing back the hunters one by one. Carter stood at the hatch with his rifle, watching as claws scraped across the outer hull. For a moment he swore he heard scratching. Not from outside but inside the walls, he whispered to himself, "Stay strong. Stay strong." Even as sweat poured down his face, the alien woman pressed her hands over her ears. shaking her head. They don't stop, they don't fear. They will tear you apart like they tore my people apart. But Reynolds turned to her, his voice sharp. No, they don't fear yet. But they will. Another hunter ship lunged, its claws tearing at the human ship's flank. Reynolds gave the order, and missiles streaked out, slamming into its body. The explosion ripped it in half, black fire consuming its pieces. The howl that followed was one of rage, not victory. The crew realized something then. Something chilling. The hunters were not fighting only to kill. They were testing, studying, learning. Every strike felt more precise, every move more coordinated, Patel whispered. They're adapting. The alien woman's eyes filled with tears, her voice a broken whisper. This is what they do. They toy with you. They let you think you can win, and then they finish the hunt. The humans felt the truth of her words as more shadows closed in, circling tighter, but none of them turned away. None of them surrendered. Reynolds stood tall at the command chair, his voice steady. Then let them learn what it means to hunt humans. The storm outside howled. The hunters screamed. The ship rattled with fire and fury. The battle had begun and there was no escape now. Only fight, only survive, only prove that humanity would not bow to the darkness. The human ship shook as claws scraped across the hull. Alarms screamed, sparks burst from panels, and the air was filled with the smell of smoke and metal. The hunters circled like wolves, striking from every side, retreating and striking again. But the humans refused to break. Reynolds stood firm at the command chair, shouting over the chaos, "Hold the line, don't waste shots. Make every strike count." Patel scanned the enemy movements, his voice sharp. "They're testing our defenses." "Looking for weak spots," Reynolds growled. "Then we give them fire instead of fear," cannons roared, blasting streaks of light into the storm. One hunter ship took a direct hit, its body splitting with a scream that rattled every bone. The humans cheered, their voices rising in defiance. Carter gripped his rifle tighter, his fear replaced with fire. "They can bleed," he shouted. "That means we can kill them." The alien woman stared at the humans in disbelief, her silver eyes wide. "You don't understand. My people always ran, always hid. No one ever fought them like this." Reynolds looked back at her, his face set like steel. "Then watch closely, because this is how humanity survives." Another hunter ship slammed against their shields, claws tearing. The impact threw Carter to the floor, but he rolled up fast, bracing his rifle at the hatch. From outside came scratching sounds, sharp and slow, like nails dragging across bone. Carter's finger tightened on the trigger, sweat dripping down his face. "They're trying to get in," he whispered. Patel shouted, "Captain, energy readings spiking." "They're powering something up." The forward screen lit with a burst of sickly green light. A hunter ship spat out a beam of raw energy, tearing across space. The shield flared, crackled, and nearly broke, the ship groaning under the force. Harris yelled, "Shield's at 60%. One more hit like that and we're wide open." Reynolds' eyes narrowed. "Then we strike first, target that ship, give it everything we've got." The humans fired. Missiles streaking through the storm, they struck true, exploding against the monster's body, ripping it apart. The creature ship howled one last time before shattering into black fragments that drifted lifeless into the void. The crew erupted in cheers, the sound raw and desperate. For the first time, hope was louder than fear. The alien woman pressed a hand over her mouth, her voice breaking. "You destroyed too. No one has ever done that. Not my people, not anyone." Her eyes filled with something new, disbelief turning slowly into awe. But there was no time to rest. More hunter ships closed in, faster, angrier. They darted through the storm, weaving between blasts. "Learning, adapting," Patel muttered. "They're getting smarter." "Copying our patterns," Reynolds barked. "Then we change the game. Humans don't fight fair. We fight clever." He ordered the ship to dive into the dust storms, using the thick clouds to mask their movements. The hunters followed, but the humans split their fire, laying traps with timed explosives. One hunter darted too close. A mine exploded against its flank, tearing it apart. Another was lured into crossfire and shredded by cannon fire. The crew fought like cornered lions, every strike fueled by the refusal to die. Carter laughed breathlessly, firing at shadows that scraped against the hull. "Come on, monsters, you wanted prey. You found the wrong species." The alien woman stared at him. Stunned, her voice was barely a whisper. "You fight as if death does not matter," Reynolds answered without looking at her. his voice steady. Death matters, but giving up matters more. Outside, the hunters howled, their voices shaking the void, but now the humans answered with fire, their ship blazing with every gun. The storm lit with explosions, black fire and twisted metal drifting into nothing. The hunters circled tighter, but for the first time they pulled back slightly. They were no longer certain. Patel's scanner flickered, his voice sharp with excitement. They're retreating a little, regrouping. I think we actually scared them. The alien woman gasped, shaking her head. No. Impossible, they don't fear. They only feed. But Reynolds stood tall, his eyes locked on the fading signals. They've never met humans before, he said, his voice like iron. The bridge was silent for a moment. Only the hum of the engines and the beat of their hearts. Carter whispered, almost laughing. We made them bleed, Captain. We made them run. Reynolds gave a rare smile, hard and sharp. And now they know if they want to hunt us, they'll have to pay in blood. The alien woman sat in silence, her hands trembling not with fear but with something else. For the first time since she had sent her desperate call, she felt a flicker of hope. These strange humans did not cower, did not hide. They fought back with fire in their hearts, and maybe, just maybe, the hunters had finally found prey that could bite back. But the scanners still showed signals all around them, circling, waiting, learning. The battle was far from over. The hunt was far from done, and as the storm howled outside, Reynolds spoke softly, almost to himself. Let them come again. We'll show them what it means to face humanity.